Smoltz. He has never lost a division series game, winning each of his starts in the last 3 years. And he's won 11 games in postseason play when you add up all the playoff series and World Series efforts.
Well, you wonder why this guy only won 11 games during the course of the year. He's had a lot of arm trouble, particularly in that elbow. He had to alter his delivery, and he did that back on July 30th. At that time, left-handers hitting .253 with just 2 home runs off of him. From that point on, .276 with 5 homers.
Called a strike to Biggio. Nice pitch on the outside. He did something that seems almost impossible. In mid-year, he changed the way he throws pitches. A pop fly, shallow right. This is Boone. And there is one away. So Biggio is again kept off the base paths.
Right fielder, number 30.
Defensively, Andrew Jones back out there again in center field. I thought it was Brett Boone also yesterday catching several line drives off the bat of the Houston Astros, being positioned perfectly. Defense always the priority with Bobby Cox when he goes about assembling a lineup, because he knows his pitching is his strength and he needs somebody to catch the ball.
Walt Weiss, of course, was in there and made that game-saving play in the 10th inning. There's a strike to Stan Javier. Javier yesterday hit a line shot that was caught by Boone. One of those plays you're talking about. One of the hardest hit balls of the day. And that was against Kevin Millwood, who got the save yesterday. And of course, in Millwood's one-hitter on Wednesday, Javier made the final out, crushing a line shot at Brett Boone. So in his last 2 at-bats against Millwood, he has crushed the ball about as hard as Stan can hit the ball, and made an out each time. You know, it was interesting. Millwood had that one-hitter on Wednesday. The last time a complete game one-hitter was pitched in postseason play was by Jim Lonborg in the '67 World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. His no-hitter was broken up by Stan Javier's dad, Julian Javier, but the only hit of that game. He says his dad, Julian Javier, who used to be an outstanding second baseman on some great Cardinals clubs back in the '60s, is retired down in the Dominican Republic, plays a lot of golf, and he's enjoying life. And he may be looking in today. 1-2 to Stan Javier, and time is taken. Smoltz stopped in mid-motion. Now Javier has hit .300 against him over the years with 9 hits in 30 career at-bats. And against Smoltz, that goes as an excellent record. That's down the left field line, a base hit. Gerald Williams was pushed over to the line to begin with, and he will hold Javier to a single. So again, chalk one up to positioning for the Atlanta Braves.
Well, it's basically the same pitch right here that he popped Biggio up on. The difference with a left-handed hitter, it runs away from you towards the big part of your bat. It doesn't run in on you like it did the right-handed Biggio. This is why Smoltz struggles with left-handed pitchers. Left-handed hitter. He comes out in that 3/4 delivery angle, and they get a much longer, better look at the rotation on the baseball. They look for that fastball up. When they get it, they can do things like that with it.
Now Bagwell. Sinker just a little bit low for ball 1.
It's really amazing what Smoltz has been able to do. This guy was a pitcher for 20 years, coming over the top, and a dominant pitcher at that. He basically had to learn to throw all over again with that new angle.
Fastball for a strike. He did it one day in the bullpen, just fooling around, and he dropped down a little bit. And as you see the numbers, Rick, and there they are. Lefties have hit a lot better against him with this new delivery. But he said he realized he had no pain throwing from the 3/4 angle. There's that what David Cohn would call the Laredo slider, and that's what Barry Larkin said astounded him the first time he faced Smoltz with this new delivery. He said, wow, I was not prepared for him to be throwing from 3/4 and throwing over 90 miles an hour with great movement, and then throwing a Laredo slider a la David Cohn. There it is again, missing, and it is 3-1 to Jeff Bagwell, and the Astros waiting for Bagwell's slumbering bat to begin speaking again. In the 3 games, the Astros have scored only 10 runs. There goes Javier, but Bagwell walks. And the Astros have their own early threat, trailing 1-0 with Carl Everett coming up, and then Ken Caminetti behind him. What Bobby Cox does not need today is to have John Smoltz knocked out early in this game. Although he's got a guy out there who could go a good long while if need be.
That's one thing about the pride of the starters on the Atlanta Braves, though. They know for the most part they're going to be there 6-7 innings.
Strike one on the inside to Everett. Everett gets right on top of that plate. It's hard to get the ball too far in without hitting him.
Terry Mulholland was saying that was a big difference coming over to Atlanta. He says the confidence and the pride the starters take in being out there, keeping that bullpen fresh by doing their job.
Jammed in, broken back. Fresco to second, and Hernandez will hold it. Over to third, Javier. Bagwell forced at second. Everett taking first, and now Caminetti with 2 on and 2 out. There's another ball game being played right now on ESPN 2. The New York Mets and Arizona Diamondbacks. No score after 1 inning at Shea Stadium. The Diamondbacks in the same predicament as the Astros. They must win to keep that series alive. Ken Caminetti. Well, he's the man in this series for the Astros. 7 for 13. 2 home runs, although he had 3 hits yesterday. They did strike him out with the bases loaded in the 7th inning in a big at bat. That was Mike Remlinger who got him in one of the pivotal at bats of the game. They've only scored 10 the whole series. They've only had 23 hits this series, so he's had nearly a third of their hits and half of their RBIs.
Well, that batting average for the rest of the team in this series looks a lot like the career batting average of Ken Caminetti against John Smoltz, just .213. But this is a different John Smoltz. It's a different angle. Caminetti should have some better bats.
Slapped that sinker foul off to the third base side into the crowd. 1 ball, 1 strike.
The biggest difference in Smoltz is on his breaking ball. When he was up top in that overhead position, he had a lot more tilt to it. That's what makes it difficult on a left-hander. You see the breaking ball, you can think you can get to it, but it just keeps going down. Now that he's out there in that 3-quarter angle, it stays flatter, and you're able to get part of the bat on the baseball.
Javier, who singled, is at third base. Everett, who forced Bagwell at first. It goes to 2-1. Caminetti, remember, finished the regular season in a hot streak, and including these 3 games played in this series so far, he has had 39 RBIs in his last 35 games. 1-0 Atlanta. Back out of play. Man, he can still find that little extra on that fastball when he needs to. 96 miles per hour on the radar gun with that one.
Well, he's not really in any danger of hurting anything. That being Smoltz, there's no ligament damage, no tendon damage. He's just got an arthritic elbow that when he puts it in certain spots, he has pain there. He's found a spot where it doesn't hurt, and he's trying to learn to pitch all over again.
There goes Everett from first. The ball too far into Caminetti, and Everett steals second, uncontested. So now a base hit could mean 2 runs. Billy Spires, another left-handed hitter, is on deck. Spires awaiting his turn, hoping to bat here in the first inning.
Look how deep Brett Boone is playing right there. You wonder why he's able to get to so many balls that are hit hard. He's in shallow right field.
Ooh, just missing with a sinker on the inside. Smoltz wanted that one. That was close. Ball 4. The bases are loaded.
There's about a 10-inch difference in the release point with John Smoltz, and because of that, his location will suffer from time to time. Perez trying to get that ball on the inside corner, not able to do that. Now the bases are loaded, and one of the guys on the Houston Astros team who's come up with a lot of clutch hits in his career is at home plate, and Billy Spires.
8 hits in 21 career at-bats against John Smoltz. A .381 lifetime average against Smoltz, the best in the club. 3 men on. Javier, Everett, Caminetti. Ball 1 with a fastball. Too low.
And this is where Houston's got to be patient. I think this is where they lost the ball game yesterday. Carl Everett at home plate, bases loaded, nobody out. 2-2 count. He's swinging a ball that was going to bounce before it got to home plate when he hit into the fielder's choice. Get a good pitch to hit.
He took it. It's a little bit high. 2-0, and Perez thought it was in there, and John Smoltz and Bobby Cox, they both thought it was in there, and Smoltz feels like he's getting squeezed right now.
Well, there's a little bit of a carryover effect from yesterday. Dana DeMuth, yesterday's game, was down at first base. Greg Maddux thought he had Craig Biggio struck out. On the replay, we saw Biggio did take a swing. He should have been called out, but Dana DeMuth said no swing, and the inning continued. That could have broke the ball game over. It didn't. Atlanta was able to hold on and eventually win it, but Bobby Cox has never been afraid to tell an umpire just how he feels.
He was ejected, I think, for more games than any other manager this year. Big pitch right now. 2 balls, no strikes to Billy Spires. 3 men on, 2 men down. Smoltz has thrown 22 pitches in this first inning. He's walked 2. Spires is 6th batter of the inning. That is in there for a strike. 2-1.
I think that's a good move on Spires' part right there. Go ahead and take a pitch. Smoltz may walk you. You may not have to put the ball in play. But the one thing they have done this inning, they've run the pitch count deep on John Smoltz. And we know the bullpen for both of these clubs is awful thin.
Javier, Everett, and Caminiti ready to run. And a foul popped off to the left. And he's staying with the hard stuff here on Bill Spires. Shane Reynolds down 1-0. Hoping to see the Astros put him ahead right now. They've got the chance, but they need the clutch 2-out hit. Javier, Everett, Caminiti. The off and running of the crack of the bat with 2 down. Jammed him right to Boone. And the inning is over. They cannot find that big hit. Another bases loaded, no-run inning.
The opposition as he has throughout his career, but he's doing it a little bit differently now. This is the old John Smoltz. Watch the arm angle. There he is there. Look at that. Now take a look at this one right here. This is where he's going to be. Look at him down in there in that angle right there. That's why it's so much tougher for a right-handed hitter. I mean, that ball's basically starting out at your back. It's going to have more sink to it. See his hand up top there, though, how he's able to keep on top of that fastball before. Now he's coming around it, underneath it. It's going to create more movement. And the great thing for Smoltz, the velocity's still there.
Off the fist by Eusebio, and shallow right. Biggio throws him out, and there is 1 away. John Smoltz was talking recently about this new arm angle, which takes the pain away from throwing for him.
Compared to where I was before, I couldn't keep going. There's no way. If you'd asked me 3 months ago, what do you think you can do to help this Braves team in the playoffs, I don't know if I could have answered it. It's been another amazing year. Even last year, to even think about what I went through last year. Personally, I'm really the only person that's going to understand it. I really don't make any excuses or really try to tell too much what goes on, but this is another gratifying year. No matter how it turns out, for me personally, to be able to pitch in the postseason, couldn't ask for anything more.
Just glad to be here.
That's what his teammates love about him. They know that even though he's created that new arm angle, it's easier for him to pitch. This guy is still in a lot of pain to go out there every 5th day.
Bogart over the middle, base hit. That's where they wanted that ball to go in the 10th inning yesterday. Hit by Eusebio with the bases loaded.
Well, and the big difference between Jose Hernandez playing short and Walt Weiss is the fact that Walt Weiss would probably have gotten to this ball. Hernandez is in the lineup because they expect him to hit. He did not hit in the top of the 2nd. He hit into a double play, actually, which was worse than not putting the ball in play at all.
Now Shane Reynolds. And back to the bag at first is Bogart. Tim Bogart getting his first start. Yesterday he got his first postseason at-bat as a pinch hitter in the 11th inning and drew a walk. And today he's got his first postseason hit. The bunt. Smoltz will go to first. Boone cover. So Reynolds gets it done. Bogart into scoring position for Biggio.
John, a lot of people are surprised that John Smoltz was able to make this adjustment. Greg Maddux said he had no doubt in his mind that Smoltz could do it. He thinks Smoltz is the best athlete on the Atlanta Braves team. I said, Brian Jordan, Chipper, he said, you know what? There's nothing Smoltz can't do athletically. You could invent a sport, give him some time to prepare, and he'd be a master at it. Great golfer, great basketball player.
Craig Biggio. He popped out to second his first time. 0 for 1. They're in the last of the second. 1-0. Atlanta is leading. Oh man, there's that slider. And it is 0-1. They've played 2.5 now at Shea Stadium over on ESPN 2. Diamondbacks nothing, Mets nothing. And I'm sure, Rick, that if that score holds for another couple of innings, the pressure will start to get unbearable for Arizona, because it's all on them today. And they were the most prolific offensive ball club in the National League. There's that slider from the side by John Smoltz. 0-2 to Biggio. I guess if you're Craig Biggio or Jeff Bagwell or any of these hitters, all of the stuff that you've filed away in your memory about facing John Smoltz no longer applies. That sidearm slider outside. 1-2.
All of the videotape that you've looked at over the years, all of the thoughts that you've got, you know what he's going to do with 2 strikes. You know what he's done in the past when he's behind in the count. You can forget about all of that now.
Runner at second. Fastball, straight foul right over toward the Astros dugout. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now,
trying to paint that outside corner. Perez reaching back there a little bit, but the velocity on that pitch was what kept Biggio from putting it in play.
Eddie Perez likes to get way out there. You saw his foot outside the catcher's box. Again, considerably out. Hernandez juggles it and does not get anybody. Bogart at third. Biggio safe at first. The Astros get a break.
You're not going to get many breaks from the Atlanta Braves, and when you do, you've got to capitalize on that. What makes this a tough play for Hernandez is that he knows Craig Biggio is going to hustle down the line. He's done it throughout his career, and that's a great lesson for all young ball players. If you hustle like that and you get a reputation, that puts pressure on the infielder. They know they got to hurry. They got to come get the ball. They got to come up with it cleanly and make a good throw. Craig Biggio has always done that, and every now and then you get rewarded by getting on base.
Javier now trying to deliver in the clutch. He did single his first time down the left field line. 0-1 the count. Javier is hitting .375 in this division series, and he has a better than .300 average in his career against John Smoltz. Down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. The Astros' top 3 hitters this year, Bagwell, Biggio, and Carl Everett, and a combined batting average of .306. In this series, they're hitting .139 against Atlanta. Those 3, Bagwell, Everett, and Biggio. 1-2 to Javier. Javier walks away from the plate as if to think it over. Jeff Bagwell would be next. So Javier not only trying to deliver the run here in the clutch, but keep the inning going for the slugger to have a big RBI chance himself. 1-2. Broken back. Chipper Jones. He got it. So the Astros, who 4 times have left the bases loaded in these last 2 games, have left 5 on base in 2 innings today. Sluggers coming up for the Astros here. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority, the Commissioner of Baseball, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game, such as they are, may not be disseminated without express written consent. From Rick Sutcliffe. Jeff Bagwell. A slider for a strike. Bagwell walked his first time. Now, Bagwell's had 1 hit and 9 at bats in this series, but he's also walked 5 times and been hit by a pitch 1 time. Ooh, where was that?
Well, the Braves have actually walked Bagwell 4 out of his last 5 times. They just weren't going to let him beat him yesterday in the latter part of the ball game. Now with a 2-0 lead, though, you can challenge him. He can't tie the game up here.
He went up after that high fastball High foul down the right field line into foul ground. Jordan over the bullpen mound, and he makes the catch. Bagwell is gone. Now let's get an update from that Mets-Arizona game.
All right, John, Mets and D-backs on ESPN2. Brian Anderson had only given up 1 hit before this. Edgardo Alfonso, however, bottom of the 4th. His 3rd home run of the series, a solo shot. Mets up 1-zip. Al Leiter has not given up a hit through 4. Mets still batting in the bottom of the 4th.
Al Leiter, who pitched a 2-hitter in that tiebreaker playoff game on Monday in Cincinnati. Now 4 hitless innings tonight. He actually had a mediocre season for Al Leiter, but he has been their ace just as they had hoped in the biggest games of the year.
What's ESPN going to do in the World Series? We're not going to have Al Leiter to help commentate that series if he keeps pitching like that.
So Rick Sutcliffe predicting the Mets will be in the big show. Sorry, Atlanta. Sorry, Houston. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, if he keeps pitching the way he has, the Mets will get their best shot. Carl Everett down on strikes, a slider right in the hand. So Everett is 0 for 2. 2 down and nobody on.
John Smoltz, that fastball right there, he just straightens it out a little bit. Most of the time that ball will run away from a left-hander. Everett saw where it started. He thought the ball would come back to the heart of the plate where he could hit it.
Changeup too low to Caminetti, who walked his first time. Well, Bagwell, Everett, Biggio in this series now 5 hits in 39 at bats. That's into center and caught by Andrew Jones. So Smoltz facing Bagwell, Everett, and Caminetti has his easiest inning so far. A 9-pitch, 3-up, 3-down inning. Who holds the record for the most strikeouts in a division series game? Talking about a pitcher. Which pitcher holds the record for the most strikeouts in a division series game? And everybody knows the answer to this one. It's too easy.
I think it happened right here in the Astrodome, didn't it?
Right here in the Astrodome. Is that a hint? The question is incredibly easy. It happened here in the Astrodome in a game in which Randy Johnson was a starting pitcher. 0-1 the count to Bill Spires. He grounded a second with the bases loaded to end the first inning. Andrew Jones in left center for 1 away. Jose Lima, who is always a bundle of energy whenever he gets to the ballpark. And between innings, he got that good luck bat. Trying to get the Astros going. And giving Smoltz the evil eye. And that's a called strike. Trying to get that Astros regular season mojo here in the postseason. Eusebio grounded out to second his first time.
He was out there, what was it, 9 o'clock this morning, swinging that same bat, trying to get everybody fired up. He was mad at the security people here at the ballpark, even before the fans got to the game, that they weren't excited. Put some music on.
Chipper Jones. Out number 2. Eusebio is gone. The Astros, after 2 runs in the first inning yesterday, have not scored now for 14 2/3 inning, or just the 1 run scored since the first inning yesterday.
Look at the defensive positioning right here the Braves had going. They only had Chipper Jones on the left side of the infield. The shortstop Hernandez was almost directly behind second base. You can't do that with most third basemen, but Chipper Jones just has that kind of range.
Well, that one just past Chipper Jones. Tim Bogart, in his first postseason start, is now 2 for 2. It keeps the inning going so that at least Shane Reynolds, the pitcher, will not have to lead off the next inning. 1-1 the score in the last of the 5th inning now at Shea Stadium. Now Leiter for the Mets and Brian Anderson for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Arizona in the same position as the Houston Astros, having to win today or having to go home. Here's ball 1 to Shane Reynolds. The Astros, I was talking to Vern Rule, their pitching coach under Larry Dierker before the game, about their bullpen plans for today. And he said, well, today it's just everybody in the staff. He said Jose Lima included. That's a foul off to the right into the crowd. He said, if we can win this one and get to tomorrow, we'll figure out tomorrow then. So everything now is geared toward winning this one. He will hold nothing back in terms of sending pitchers out there. Reynolds puts a fly ball into shallow left center. Gerald Williams, and that is the inning. John Smoltz has shut them down on 3 hits. If they can hold that lead, they will have won the division series. Walt Weiss now in at shortstop for defensive purposes. I think the reason is obvious. Here's what happened yesterday. This was a game-saving play with the bases loaded in the 10th inning. Caminetti out at the plate on a ball hit by Eusebio. Weiss is one of the outstanding defensive shortstops in the game. Craig Biggio, top of the order for the Astros.
Everything about that play was amazing. To get to the ball, to knock it down, and then to off balance make a throw that was catchable. You got Caminetti hustling down the line, the crowd going crazy. He might be the MVP of this series right now on one play.
Well, if he doesn't make that play, then the Braves are playing for survival today. I mean, that saved the game at that moment. Had it gotten past him, had he thrown wildly to home plate, the winning run would have scored. 1-2 to Biggio. Biggio is 0 for 2 in this game. 2 hits in 16 at bats in the series. They get 2 for 17. The high fastball. And I don't know if I've ever heard that at the Astrodome before. A few boos for Craig Biggio.
It sounded like there were actually some boos for Larry Dierker when he was announced before the game. Just frustration right now, not only on the part of the fans, but on the players of the Braves and their manager as well.
Meanwhile, in New York, last of the 6th inning, Arizona won, the Mets won. Each team has hit a solo homer in that game. It's over on ESPN 2. Stan Javier takes a strike. He is singled down the left field line and then grounded out to third. The Astros had shots to score in the first 2 innings of this game, but were unable to get that one big hit. They left the bases loaded in the first, and then Javier left runners at first and third with his ground out in the second. Javier 1 for 2. Jeff Bagwell on deck. From Craig Biggio, the man who ignites this offense at the top of the order, the man who gets on base, he steals bases, gets himself into scoring position, shut down in this series as Javier is called out on strikes for out number 2. Bagwell will come up, but with the bases empty. John Smoltz is starting to make it look easy.
Yeah, back in August of 1987, Atlanta Braves made a trade with the Detroit Tigers for Doyle Alexander for John Smoltz. Smoltz was in Double-A with Detroit, 4-10 with a 5.68 ERA. Somebody obviously saw something.
Slider pulled foul. Well, Alexander helped the Tigers win a division title that year, but Smoltz has helped Atlanta for more than a whole decade.
Well, you feel sorry for Alexander's name always being brought up like that. How about Larry Anderson? Back in '90, he was traded for Bagwell.
Jeff Bagwell in the Red Sox farm system, and Larry Anderson now a broadcaster with the Philadelphia Phillies. Sox thought they needed some bullpen help for the stretch run, and Bagwell went to Houston to become a star.
Bagwell was in Double-A that year, 480 at bats. He only hit 4 home runs. Who would have ever thought it?
Not the Red Sox. Just missing with a fastball. 1-2. Well, Smoltz had those 2 troubling innings to start the game. He got through them, but these last 3 innings he is starting to cut them down. It's off the outside. 2-2. He got Bagwell, Everett, and Caminetti, the 3 power hitters in the Astros lineup, in succession in the 3rd inning. And now he struck out Biggio and Javier in front of Bagwell here. 2-2 to Bagwell. The slider. Whoa, man. Smoltz thought he had him. He thought he had him a couple of times in this sequence.
Yeah, the Muth might have got fooled a little bit right there. Normally that breaking ball of Smoltz would have gone down. It doesn't go down much anymore. It just kind of flattens out. Smoltz thought he had strike 3 there.
So Bagwell may have gotten a break. That one into right center. Easy play for Jordan. And there is frustration from the Astros fans. 2-0 going to the 6th. The Houston Astrodome. Game 4. And the Atlanta Braves maintain a 2-0 lead as we move to the 6th inning. Brian Jordan, who has certainly been their MVP of this series up till now. Yesterday, he did something that had never been done in a postseason game in Major League history. Never before had anybody driven in more than 4 runs in a game where those were his team's only runs. Jordan drove in all 5 of the Braves runs yesterday. Back at Reynolds, off his glove. The pickup by Caminetti, but no play on the speedy Jordan. And Jordan has his 2nd hit of this game and his 8th hit of this series.
When they talk about offensive numbers, a lot of time, John, they'll take the number of RBIs and the number of runs scored. You add that together, subtract the home runs because you don't want to count them twice. Speaking of home runs, there's a 3-run homer yesterday. But you come up with a pretty good idea of how productive a guy is offensively. If that number is 150, you've got a pretty good offensive player. Well, doing the math, you add up Chipper Jones, he comes up to 181. That's a good offensive player. You do the math on Brian Jordan this year, 192. So he has provided more offense for the Braves than Chipper Jones has.
It's actual runs produced for a ball club in a season.
His average not quite as high as Chipper's was.
Chris Holt, a right-hander, up in the Astros bullpen. 8 hits now for Atlanta. Ryan Klesko, the hitter. Vern Rule, having conversed with Shane Reynolds on the mound, goes back to the dugout. And they're getting up to that part of the game where they begin to feel like Shane Reynolds might be about to hit the wall, especially on only 3 days of rest. Ball 1 to Klesko on the outside, and they're at the part of the game now where they cannot afford to fall any further behind. Not with John Smoltz just breezing along now. 2-0 Atlanta in the top of the 6th. Klesko has walked and struck out today. Splitter and a turf hit into right field, and Jordan's going to go for 3rd. He stopped for a moment and then accelerated, and he may have deked Javier into believing that he wasn't going to go. So he makes it in there easily.
John, you're exactly right, and there's no reason to be deked in that situation. Javier's only got one responsibility: come in, catch the ball, and make an accurate throw to 3rd. Don't guess whether the guy's going to go or whether he's not going. You do your job. That doesn't matter. Look at him right here. He kind of hesitates. Come get the ball and make the throw. Don't hesitate. That's a big, big run right there in a situation that shouldn't have happened. Jordan was going to stay there.
So the base hit, the big bouncer on the turf by Klesko, is the end of Shane Reynolds. 2 men on, nobody out. Andrew Jones coming up. Holt coming in. And here we are now, and the Astros need some heroic measures here from Chris Holt. Runners at 1st and 3rd, nobody out. The dangerous Andrew Jones at the plate. Andrew is 0 for 2 in this game. The middle infield is in double play depth. They're willing to give up this 3rd run to get the double play. The bloop over the head of Bogart. That's a base hit into left center field. Coming in to score is Jordan, and then the ball gets through. Klesko goes to 3rd, and into 2nd, Andrew Jones. And then the throw gets through even there, and the fans are angry. It is 3-0 Atlanta, and the Braves suddenly starting to, or the Astros starting to crumble.
Well, the reason Darrell Ward wasn't in the lineup this afternoon was because they wanted better defense. Well, there's a little lapse on the right fielder who was playing in a position Ward could have played. They got the runner to 3rd. Now right here, the left fielder just takes his eyes off the ball for a second. He didn't know if Klesko was going to 3rd or not. Could have stayed on the baseball, fielded it, and thrown to 3rd, and not had to have guessed.
Holt is coming in here and has gotten everything high in the strike zone. Eddie Perez swinging in one that goes back out of play. Perez 1 for 2 in the game. Now the infield is in. Klesko at 3rd, Andrew Jones at 2nd, An error charged to Billy Spires there for allowing the runners to advance an extra base. This would be a double play situation with runners at first and second. Now it is a very dire situation.
You mentioned everything Chris Holt throwing being up a little bit. He had a little bit of a problem with that during the season this year. 5-13. The opposition batting average over 300 against him.
He had a 4.66 ERA. He did make 2 starts against Atlanta and pitched pretty well in both of those games. Well enough to have won both of them, but ended up with no decision. He was also the man that seemed to pitch whenever the Astros did not score. Off the fist's foul over toward Bobby Cox in the Atlanta dugout. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Scott Ellerton up in the bullpen, the young right-hander of the Astros. 3-0 Atlanta. Shane Reynolds went 5 innings plus so far, charged with 3 runs, 9 hits. The runner at third, Klesko, belongs to him. Andrew Jones at second. Everything going wrong for the Astros now. 1-2 the count. Right back and off Holt and through the middle. Klesko scores. Andrew Jones around third, and he scores. It is 5-0. Meanwhile, as the Braves start to break it open, here's an update with Bill Pito.
All right, John, Mets and D-backs over on ESPN 2. 1-1 game in the 6th inning. Benny Agbayani to start today in right field because Brian Anderson's a lefty. Comes through to the wall. That scores Ricky Henderson. And the Mets threatening second and third right now with 2 out, still batting the bottom of the 6th.
And later today at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox, Game 3, the Cleveland Indians and the Boston Red Sox from Fenway Park. And then at 7:30 tonight Eastern time, 6:30 Central, Game 3, the Yankees and the Rangers. Roger Clemens on the mound against Esteban Loaiza for the ballpark in Arlington. Everything could be determined today in these division playoffs. Walt Weiss up for the first time, hitting a foul. 4 straight hits in this inning for Atlanta. 1 ball, 1 strike. Remember, SportsCenter will have coverage of everything going on in these division series playoffs today. As just great coverage last night when I got back to the hotel of this ball game. Real in-depth, every aspect of the game, and there were like 20 different things to examine in that ball game that could have turned it around. Big plays, kind of subtle plays, and they had it all with the interviews and the reactions and the analysis on SportsCenter. 2-2 to Weiss. Another base hit. Yeah, they are finding the holes now. So Chris Holt is not able to provide what they had hoped for. He has come on out of the bullpen, faced 3 hitters, and 3 in a row have gotten base hits against him. None has hit the ball hard. We're talking about a bloop, a near comebacker, and now a bounding ball.
Really, the only mistake that he's made was not fielding that comebacker. It's a play he could have made. He didn't. And it looks like it's going to be the end of the afternoon for him.
John Smoltz coming up. John Smoltz has been a big hitter today with 2 for 2, a single and a double. And Larry Durker is going to bring in Scott Ellerton to face him when we come back. A swinging strike by John Smoltz. The Astros expecting bunt with 2 men on and nobody out. Atlanta leading 5-0. Scott Ellerton takes over the hill. But Smoltz, who already has a double and a single in this game, was not bunting.
Guy's 2 for 2 already. Bobby Cox thought, well, we'll let him take a swing. I would imagine the bunt's probably on now.
Showing bunt but taking. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I think for a couple of reasons you sacrifice in this situation. Most importantly, get your starting pitcher back on the bench. Let him rest. You don't want him on the bases for an extended period of time. It's more important for him to be healthy and strong going out there for the bottom of the 6th to pitch.
So Eddie Perez, the runner at second, is a very, very slow runner with the bad knees. It is a force out at third base. So it better be a very good bunt if it's going to work. 2-1 though, as Ellerton suddenly with Smoltz showing bunt. Can't find the strike zone.
And he was showing bunt early. If they're going to give you an out, go ahead and take it. He did not do that, and now you run behind in the count. Smoltz could probably swing the bat if he wanted.
There's the bunt, and he did it perfectly, making Caminetti field the ball. Biggio covering it first. The runners have been moved over. Perez to third, Weiss to second. That is the first out of the inning after 5 consecutive singles by the Braves, who have been singling the Astros to death today.
Perfect textbook bunt right there on the part of John Smoltz. You simply, on a sacrifice, just have your bat at the highest strike, have it angled in the direction you want it to go, and just catch the baseball with the bat. That's all you've got to do. Smoltz doing it perfectly.
The infield is in. Gerald Williams with the score already 5-0 Atlanta. Nearly a wild pitch. Nice save there by Eusebio. Hard slider bouncing in the dirt on the outside.
Ellerton's had trouble with that off-speed pitch the last couple of weeks of the season. He's got some bicep tendonitis in his arm. He's not at 100%. Had he been at 100%, he probably would have started the first game of the series. They really don't have a fourth starter. I think that trade they made last year to bring Randy Johnson over here has not only hurt them last year, they didn't go as far in the playoffs as they wanted to, but it's hurting them this year.
Popped up foul and back out of play. Williams 1 for 2 with a sacrifice in this game.
When they made that deal with the Seattle Mariners to bring Johnson to Houston, they gave up 3 really good players. Freddie Garcia, John Halama, 2 starting pitchers that possibly could have been in the rotation for Houston this year, but they gave them up along with Carlos Guillen to bring the big unit here. The big unit did not get them past the divisional series, and I think they're still paying the price now.
Fastball in the hands, foul back out of play. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, Lou Piniella has said that he would not trade Freddie Garcia for Randy Johnson straight up today.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Johnson makes a lot of money, and he's a lot older than Garcia is. This guy's future is tremendous.
Freddie Garcia won 17 games this year, his first full season in the big leagues. Another save on that slider in the dirt. In fact, he won the same number of games for the Mariners this year as Johnson won for Arizona. Billy Wagner. Don't expect to see him in there with the bad elbow.
That was a big test question for Larry Dierker before the game. Who are you going to close with if Wagner's not available? He just hopes he still has that question at the end of this game.
Pop up foul down the right field line. Bagwell going out, but this one will drop back into the crowd. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Williams. 3 runs already in here for the Braves. They lead the game 5-0. Meanwhile, at Shea Stadium, the Mets have gone ahead 2-1. They're in the top of the 7th inning against Arizona. Al Leiter, who has been real sharp apparently in that ball game, carrying the lead into the 7th. Here's Scott Ellerton just trying to keep it from getting completely out of hand. On the fists, a pop foul. Caminetti over, runs out of room. A souvenir. 2-2. Rhett Boone on deck.
Souvenir from what may be the last baseball game played here in the Astrodome. They call it the 8th wonder of the world. I remember coming to the ballpark with the Dodgers. They had a pitcher named Nolan Ryan that we thought was the 8th wonder of the world. We knew they could build another place like this. You're not going to build another Nolan Ryan.
The slider is blooped over the middle. What a bit of hitting there by Gerald Williams, and 2 more runs will score. Everett throws into first behind Williams, not in time. Perez and Weiss are in. The sacrifice bunt has helped create 2 more runs. That little bloop over center, I don't know, maybe somebody would have had a chance to get it. But the infield has been back in normal depth. It is 7-0 Atlanta, and they are starting to completely destroy the Astros.
Well, a lot of these runs are going to go on to the ERA of Shane Reynolds, but you got to have a lot of respect for what he's done in this playoff. This guy's 31 years old. He's come back on short rest for both of these starts and given everything he had. There are a lot of guys in his position, not a lot, but there are some 31 years of age that wouldn't have done that. They're not going to take a chance on hurting their arm, hurting their career. They would have gotten selfish. This guy gladly took it upon himself He was able to win game 1. He wasn't as lucky here this afternoon.
Brett Boone, the 8th hitter of the inning. Back to the screen. Boone is 2 for 3 with a run batted in. 5 runs are in for Atlanta. 7-0 the score. They have put this rally together with 6 singles. And that base hit by Williams was about as impressive as any of the hits have been. I mean, an amazing array of bouncers and bloops and bleeders through there. They have been finding the holes. This is not what you come to expect from Atlanta's offense over the years. From Atlanta, you expect great pitching and those big, well-timed 3-run homers. It's been their formula. And a changeup swung on a miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes by Brett Boone. And the Astrodome anointed the 8th wonder of the world by Judge Roy Hoffheinz, who was sort of the mastermind behind building the whole thing. Bob Hope, when he first saw the Astrodome, because it truly was a wonder. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. Bob Hope came in here and he said if they had a nursery and a cemetery, you'd never have to leave. The Reverend Billy Graham called it a tribute to the boundless imagination of man. The Houston Astrodome, which may close its doors, at least for professional sports, which has been its primary function all these years, after this game. Not quite. Stan Javier had a long run. Not quite. 2-2. I suppose, depending on your point of view, you might also say the Astrodome was the beginning of a lot of things that the baseball purists don't like in baseball. The artificial turf, exploding scoreboards. Off Eusebio. 2-2 the count. But there was a ball game early on in July of that first year. Jimmy Wynn moved under a high fly ball hit by Jim Ray Hart of the San Francisco Giants. He started calling for it, you know, tapping the glove. Then suddenly he couldn't see it. It was a day game. He was looking up into the skylights overhead, and the ball was not to be seen. Ellerton in the dirt. What a play by Bogart. Man, he saved the out there. Gerald Williams forced it second, and a great pickup by Tim Bogart. First thing that's gone right for the Astros here in this inning.
Ellerton's a youngster, and this is a young ball player's mistake right here. There's really no reason to force this ball into second base. You've got the sure out, the easy out at first base. He tried to hurry the throw, and Tim Bogart has just done everything right for Houston, a ball club that as a whole has not done a whole lot of things right in this series.
Chipper Jones now. He's 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly, a run batted in. 7-0 the Astros lead. Chipper fouls it out of play. Well, anyway, Jimmy Wynn all of a sudden couldn't see that high fly ball hit by Jim Ray Hart, and it went for an inside the park 3-run homer. The Giants won the game on that 3-run homer 5-2. So they painted over all those panels, thousands of them, and then the grass died. They started painting the dirt green just to make it look like grass was out there, and of course that led to Astro turf, which has been plaguing baseball ever since. 0-2 the count. Although I always thought the Kansas City Royals in the days of George Brett and Hal McRae, I thought they enjoyed it. They certainly played well on it. Too low to Chipper Jones. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You go out and walk on this AstroTurf here at the Dome, and it's almost like walking on pavement. It's so hard, and hard for me to believe that Craig Biggio and Jeff Bagwell have played their careers here and played as many games as they have. 162 games this year for Bagwell, 160 for Biggio, and they do it pretty much every year. I ask them why they don't take a day off once in a while, and Biggio says we're so lucky. He said I know it's a long year, 162 games, it's the dog days and what have you, but he says I work a 3-hour day. That's not all bad.
3-2 now to Chipper Jones. It had been 0-2. Well, that's you like the attitude.
Yeah.
And again, it's hard to imagine two of the best players in the game and well respected by all other players, Biggio and Bagwell, under the glare of the postseason and not producing. I mean, I think it's hard to see this happening to them, because in the long haul, year after year, I mean, these guys are as productive as any two players on any team in baseball, more so. The heart and soul of this Astros club. But in the postseason, a combined 9 hits in 77 at bats. Bagwell only 4 RBIs. And a lot of that has been applied by the great pitching staff of the Atlanta Braves. Right up the middle, another base hit, finding a hole. Boone will go to third. Chipper Jones, the 9th hitter of the inning and the 7th single of the inning. This is amazing. The man who started the inning with an infield single off the glove of Shane Reynolds is coming up now.
Chipper Jones starting to get things going himself offensively. Picked up an RBI earlier today, a sacrifice that got things going in the top of the first, and he continues the onslaught here in the top of the 6th inning.
Brian Jordan hit the ball off the glove of Shane Reynolds. That's how this all got started. Later in the inning, there was a ball off the glove of Chris Holt that kept the inning going. A little bloop into shallow left center that brought the infield in after an error by Bill Spires out there. And then, because the infield had to come in as a result of the error, a little bloop right over the middle by Gerald Williams. Vern Rule on the way to the mound to talk to Scott Ellerton. We're in the Astrodome, and perhaps for the final time here today, Gene Elston, the original voice of the Astros back in 1965, was very excited in this promotional film about the 8th wonder of the world.
This is the Astrodome, the attraction of unsurpassed entertainment. In the world's largest, completely air-conditioned and most flexible stadium, designed with your comfort, safety, and enjoyment in mind. The Astrodome, truly the 8th wonder of the world.
Howdy, y'all. 2-1 the count now to Brian Jordan. Runners at first and third, 2 down. And of course, in the original configuration that had the most gigantic scoreboard and animation board ever seen in the world out there, they rebuilt the ballpark to accommodate the old Houston Oilers at one point, to add more seats, and the old scoreboard out there disappeared. But when the Astros would hit a home run, this longhorn steer would appear out there and start jumping around all across the Astrodome wall. But at long last, this inning is over, and we'll see if the season is soon to be over for the Astros. With Atlanta leading 7-0, moving to the last half of the 6th inning, Brian Hunter, the best defensive first baseman, has come into the game, replacing Ryan Klesko. Carl Everett leads off for the Astros against John Smoltz. And John Smoltz, once again, as he has so many times before, turning a big playoff game in front of the big crowds and national television into his own personal showcase. I mean, the big game, and John Smoltz is your man. He's the go-to guy. 2 years ago in this ballpark, in the clinching game, a complete game 3-hitter against the Astros. And it is 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Everett as he bluffed the bunt. Everett has hit into a force play and struck out. Caminetti and Spires will follow. John Smoltz, through 5 innings today, has a 3-hitter going. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. A soaring fly ball. Right center. Jordan. And there is 1 away. Well, John Smoltz certainly has many great playoff memories, but perhaps his fondest memory is that playoff game at the Astrodome 2 years ago. Here's what he told us.
Knowing if you win, you're done with that series, or you can move on. That is the ultimate. You know, I've pitched in every situation possible, and that clinching game, to me, was the best I was able to pitch. I knew every pitch I wanted to throw. I mean, I don't go through those periods too many times. I don't think I had one bad pitch that I felt like I threw. And you know, when you throw 120-some pitches, you're always going to throw some bad pitches. This was an extraordinary game for me, and I closed it out, which is always fun.
0-2 to Caminetti. 1 out, nobody on. Interesting comments about that ball game. Had one bad pitch in the 9-inning game.
You know, Kevin Millwood said the same thing about the second game of this series. He didn't think it was a bad pitch to Caminetti. It was a fastball down. He said, you just got to tip your hat to Caminetti. He beat me on that pitch. Other than that, though, he was tremendous.
1-2. And a changeup. Now, that was a soft one. What's he... if I didn't know better, I think he just became a knuckleballer on us here.
He's inventing things right now. I think you might be right. I think it is a knuckleball.
In center field, Andrew Jones. Out number 2. He could be the first knuckleballer ever to throw 95 miles an hour at the same time. Well, this is back in 1997. The old over-the-top John Smoltz.
Look at the downward tilt on that breaking ball. You saw Craig Biggio once again lining out to the second baseman. He did that twice yesterday.
Well, this Atlanta ball club has got to be a hitter's worst nightmare in postseason play. And when you only face their very best, who always seem to be at their very best. And that changeup misses low and outside. 1 strike to Chris Spires, who's 0 for 2 against Smoltz here. John Smoltz is on a roll now. They had their chance to get to him in the first inning, but could not do it. Jordan. Look, the center field going back. Andrew Jones still going back, and he gets there. Center field at the Astrodome is still and always was the place where long fly balls go to die.
Particularly when you got a guy like this playing center field for you. Maddox says that on every day, Andrew Jones saves him 1 run a ball game defensively. On a good day for him, he'll save him 3 or 4. And that ball's almost to the warning track. He gets there easily.
Now Russ Johnson will come up as a pinch hitter for the Astros. Andrew Jones, a great young talent, still learning the game for Atlanta. Here's a guy that the Astros think a lot of, Russ Johnson out of LSU. Ken Caminetti was pointing him out before the game. He says Russ Johnson is one of the great undiscovered secrets in the game. He could be a budding all-star second baseman for a lot of teams right now, he says. He's got a lot of pop in his bat. If he got a chance to play every day, you might have one of the top young players in the game. But on this ball club, the problem is where to play him. He had a big hit yesterday. His pinch hit double in the 7th started a rally for the Astros that tied that ball game. Both teams' bullpens are busy. Johnson batting for Scott Ellerton. That is called a strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes. There is Trevor Miller in the Astros bullpen getting ready for the 8th inning. Slider just off the corner. 3-2. 90 pitches thrown by John Smoltz today. He's in the 7th. 3-2 to Russ Johnson. And he walks. First walk since the first inning allowed by Smoltz. In the Atlanta bullpen getting ready here. Bobby Cox will keep a close eye on him. He's given up a home run in this inning.
Well, the offense of the Houston Astros could not do anything to get this crowd on their feet and going this afternoon, so they had to wait till the 7th inning stretch. They played some music. Everybody got up. They got up again on the home run by Eusebio. They're hoping to do it more than that.
Craig Biggio, the man who's just on base all the time, igniting the offense during the regular year. But in this series, Biggio, 2 hits, 17 at bats, and only 1 walk. He's only been on base 3 times. the entire series.
He scored 628 runs during the regular season the last 5 years. Amazing. And yet he's only been able to score 1 in this series.
It's a strike on the outside. 2-1. He had 56 doubles this year. One of the highest doubles totals in decades in the game. Called a strike on the outside. 2-2 to Biggio.
Borderline, possibly low. The only reason it's even considered a strike is the great hands of Perez back there behind home plate. Instead of taking that ball down even further, he holds it right there, and the time will elevate it for a better look.
To short, could be 2. There's one back to first, not in time. Well, nearly an amazing double play turn there by Brett Boone at second base.
Almost like that baseball was a hot potato. It did not stay in Boone's glove very long, nor was it in the hands of the shortstop, Walt Weiss. They knew they couldn't. Look how quick it's out of there. Boom, get rid of it. Gone. That's all I can do. If it ain't enough, well, we'll have to let one more guy come to home plate.
Look at that feed right there. Stan Javier, 2 down. Biggio aboard into the hole. There goes Weiss. Back to Boone. Weiss is just the wrong guy to hit it to. Top of the 8th inning coming up. 7-1 Atlanta. The only run, a Tony Eusebio home run in the 7th inning against John Smoltz. The Atlanta bullpen gets busy as Everett takes a strike. Carl Everett is 0 for 3 in this game, and he is 2 for 14 in the series after his breakout season. Terry Mulholland, the left-hander. Kevin McGlinchey, the right-hander, up in the bullpen. And quickly, Smoltz is ahead. No balls and 2 strikes.
If you wonder why Bobby Cox did not take John Smoltz out after the 7 innings of work, thinking that he had done his job, most of the time Bobby Cox will leave that decision to his starters. They know more about how they feel than I would by looking in at them. I go up, I check with them. Are you done? You want more? And for the most part, when they're honest with him, it has always seemed to work.
So 102 pitches in this one. That hit him. So Everett hit by the pitch. That puts 2 men on with nobody out. This is the first time in the game that they've had 2 men on with nobody out all day.
I'll tell you what, for the best of me, I can't understand what Carl Everett is mad about. He should thank John Smoltz right there.
They needed base runners.
Absolutely. Hadn't been on base all day.
Ken Caminetti. He smashes one high and deep to center field. Jones racing back all the way back to the wall. This one is off the wall. No, it's a home run. It came back, but it cleared the wall. A 3-run homer for Caminetti, and suddenly there is hope at the Astrodome. 7-4 Atlanta.
Pretty good fastball down and away. It was right where Eddie Perez wanted it. You could see the glove even go down and out of the zone. But Ken Caminetti is healthy. He takes this ball to the biggest part of the ballpark, and Houston's back in it.
Which is exactly why Everett should have been happy about getting on base. Mulholland coming in. We'll be right back. There's the veteran left-hander Terry Mulholland, who started the season with the Chicago Cubs, on to face Bill Spires. Very high for ball 1. Mulholland used as both a starter and a reliever by both the Cubs and the Braves. I'm kind of surprised that Spires is still in there, because they have 3 right-handed hitters to whom they could go, including the veteran Derek Bell, who's had a lot of success against Mulholland in the past. Of course, they left Spires up there yesterday against left-hander Mike Renlinger. And Spires drove in the tying run with a base hit in the 7th. John Rocker, yesterday's winning pitcher. He got out of that incredible jam in the 10th inning. And he's back up, along with right-hander Kevin McGlinchey. And it is 3-1 to Bill Spires. Tony Eusebio, a right-handed hitter, is on deck.
John Rocker getting up down in the bullpen. They'll take a close look at him and his flexibility before they decide whether they're going to bring him in or not. If it takes him a long time to get up, they're not going to take a chance on his future by hurting his arm, bringing him back here. They'll try to close it out with somebody else. Bobby Cox knows the status of Billy Wagner.
Left center field, Andrew Jones. And that is the first out of the 8th inning. 3 runs in. The once 7-0 lead of the Braves is now 7-4.
John, I'm right there with you. I'm really surprised not to have seen Derek Bell in that situation. Larry Dierker and the Houston Astros are running out of outs. They've got 5 outs left. They got to figure out how to get at least 3 runs. Derek Bell with great numbers off Mulholland.
Eusebio, who homered his last time, and quickly it is 0-1. One ball, 1 strike. Well, the Astros have not exactly gotten themselves right back into the game, but they've gotten themselves in a position where they can start thinking about getting a couple of men on and then getting back into the game. 7-4. That is a base hit, left center field, into the alleyway. Cut off by Gerald Williams.
John, we talked about the defense of Walt Weiss yesterday, the range of Brett Boone, that also of Chipper Jones. One thing that sometimes goes unnoticed with the defense and the outfield of the Atlanta Braves, they got 3 guys that could play center field. That's normally the guy that has the most range. Look at Williams over there cutting that gap off. What could have been an extra base hit stays as a single and keeps the double play in order.
Tim Bogart just off the outside. Close pitch. Bogart, in his first postseason start, has had 2 hits in 3 at-bats. And he has had great success with Mulholland over the years. Bogart, 6 hits in 11 career at-bats against this left-hander, a .545 average. 1 out, 1 on in the 8th inning. Derek Bell has come out on deck. Left center field, racing back, Gerald Williams still going back, and it's going to be over his head, up against the wall. Eusebio lumbering around third, heading home, and he scores standing up. A double for Bogart. Suddenly, they are back in the game.
Jeff Bagwell, who started this rally here in the bottom of the 8th inning, said, "This is our house. We don't want it to end here. We want to go to Atlanta. We're packed. The plane's ready. All we got to do is win this ball game." Houston's making a run at it.
Now Bobby Cox, with Derek Bell having been officially entered into the game, will bring in his right-hander, Kevin McGlinchey. McGlinchey, the only pitcher who did not work yesterday out of the bullpen in the 12-inning game. 7-5. We'll be back. Well, that is that's just not done. 7-5 to score here, coming back from a 7-0 deficit against the Atlanta Braves. Anytime, April, May, October, that's not done. Coming up next on ESPN at 4 o'clock Eastern, the PGA Michelob Championship at Kings Mill. 3rd round coverage. Stay tuned for that. Kevin McGlinchey, young right-hander, a native of New England, and he had a very strong year for the Braves. But he comes on in a tight spot, the spot that Bobby Cox did not want to use him in yesterday. There's Bogar at second base, and Darrell Ward, after Bell had been entered in as the pinch hitter for Miller. McGlinchey called into the game, and then Darrell Ward comes up. The very powerful left-handed swinger who homered against Greg Maddux in game 1 of this series, which proved to be the winning hit. He is the possible tying run here at the Astrodome. And this crowd, which has been quiet much of the day and unhappy the rest of the day with its own ball club, is now on its feet. Strike one to Darrell Ward. A couple of young players here, 2 rookies in a huge game. The Astros, who were down 7-0, are now down only 7-5. Biggio is on deck. 1 out. Now to play off to the left. Backdoor him with a slider. McGlinchey got a pretty good arm.
He's got a real good arm. He's got a terrific fastball, a slider, but his out pitch for the most part is a split-fingered fastball. His velocity will reach 97, 98 from time to time.
So we'll watch for that splitter, and maybe he'll use it here. 0-2 the count to Darrell Ward.
There it was right there. You could see the grip in the glove. He'll spread those fingers. He'll try to keep the same arm motion as that of the fastball. Good movement on that splitter, down and away from Ward. Ward able to lay off of it. These two guys are going to face each other a lot in the next 10 years.
Oh, man, he came right after him with a fastball, and Ward fouled it back. Is that his pitch to hit?
He's had a couple of good fastballs to hit. Look at this right here, man. Look how quiet that front foot is. Look where the head is.
1-2. Darrell Ward, the son of longtime major leaguer Gary Ward. Bogar at second. 1 out. That might have been the splitter. Fielded cleanly by Hunter. He was over hugging that foul line. Over to third. Bogar with 2 down. Here's another update from Bill Pito.
All right, John, we showed you the fair or foul controversy. Later on, bases loaded, 2 out. Ray Ordonez, the batter, against Matt Manti, still tied at 3. And he struck him out. So we are still tied at 3. We now head to the top of the 9th.
Here, the Astros are dreaming of being tied. They have trailed since the 3rd batter of the game. And at one point, they trailed 7-0. Now, with a 4-run rally here in the 8th, they have made it 7-5. And Craig Biggio is coming up. They've got John Rocker up in the bullpen, along with Mike Remlinger, 2 left-handers out there. And Bobby Cox is going to bring in, it looks like, John Rocker. So Rocker, who worked 2 innings yesterday, will come on with a runner at third, and Biggio at the plate. We'll be right back. Game 4 of the National League Division Series, the Braves and Astros. It looked like a walk in the park, or better said, a walk in the dome for the Braves. But now, with a 4-run 8th, Bobby Cox has been forced to use his star closer, young John Rocker, who worked 2 difficult innings yesterday. I mean, Rick, he came out with the bases loaded and nobody out. He threw 27 pitches only in those 2 innings, but most of them were as high pressure a pitch as he has ever made in his career. There is Keith Lockhart now in at second base. They made a double switch. Boone is out.
And every one of those pitches yesterday was maximum effort on the part of John Rocker. That takes a lot out of you. They kept a close eye on him down in the bullpen warming up. They watched him play catch before the game today during batting practice. His range of motion must have been what it normally is. 27 pitches, not a whole lot. But let's not forget, we're just in the bottom of the 8th inning here. He's going to have to come back for the 9th as well.
So McGlinchey got the man out that he was called upon to get out. Now Rocker. Craig Biggio. He is 0 for 4 in this game. He is 2 for 18 in this series. He is looking for redemption. Fastball called a strike down at the knees. Biggio hit 16 home runs during the regular season. He's not your typical leadoff man. 16 homers and 56 doubles. They take either one right here. just off the corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Biggio is hitless in his career against Rocker all of this year. He is 0 for 4. Yesterday he clobbered a ball, a liner, but right to Brett Boone at second base against Rocker in the 11th inning. There is Bogar at third base. Biggio trying to pick him up. The slider. 1-2. The Braves have that exaggerated infield defense. The defense all spread out, guarding the foul lines against the extra base hit. Jones deep at third, right there on the left side of the screen, and right along the line. Hunter well over toward the line, deep at first. So Biggio behind on the count, 1-2, and Rocker's thrown some great pitches since coming in. Fastball hit hard but fouled into the camera position beyond the Astros dugout down the right field line.
Normally the way it happens when you're struggling, when you do hit the ball, you hit it hard, it's foul. You hit it hard, it's at somebody. And when you take a pitch, it's a strike. When you swing, it's something that's out of the zone.
Biggio has not driven in a run in this series. Very high. Trying to get a little extra on that fastball.
He did. You know what? He's shown me that he's got the ability not only to throw hard and he's talented, but he's got the ability to pitch as well. Biggio chased a breaking ball for the second strike. Rocker knew in the back of his mind he had to be thinking of that breaking ball. If you throw a breaking ball for a strike, it's going to start out up like that. Rocker tried to get him to chase that high fastball.
2-2. The slider for the strikeout. So John Rocker, for whom this inning may have been child's play after getting out of a bases loaded, nobody out situation yesterday in the 10th with the game on the line. This time merely a runner at third. He got through it. 7-5 Atlanta.